that the boy Zach, that the boy Zach's threat had really stuck with her. What if he really would kill her if she told anybody? What if he hadn't been just trying to scare her? Really bad, and he really had been watching the house for weeks and was watching her these last couple weeks to see if and who she would tell. What if that's why it had been weeks since the incident occurred? What if he could see her? What if he could see her and she couldn't see him? Questions like this swarmed her mind and tortured her very soul. When it was all said and done, the sad conclusion she kept coming back to was that she had to stay silent on the matter and could not tell anybody. She just could not tell anybody. Crystal couldn't get the other thing out of her mind either. About being a good girl. And not being the kind of person just leave people hanging. Now don't get Crystal wrong. Crystal had been told she was a pretty good person all her life. And what he had said really bothered her. What does being a good girl have to do with the situation? Does not wanting a stranger in her room make her a bad person then? Does not trusting this boy, who she had never known and still don't know, make her less of a good person? Does telling her parents there's a stranger in their house that they were kind enough to give her for all these years live in bad? How could not wanting somebody who's literally threatening her well-being and all those of her family anywhere near her make her a bad person, a bad girl, a bad person? Could it really? How? How and why? Crystal was just getting ready for bed again. It had been a long day. She was very tired after a long day at school and at work. She was so tired from the day that she'd finally managed to completely forget about the incident. Completely, somehow. Crystal was just pulling back the comforters when came from the window. Crystal was very confused. Crystal frozen, confused about it at first, not knowing where the tapping was coming from. Crystal then realized it was coming from the window, but why? Suddenly she remembered the other night. Now she froze for different reasons. Hey, open up, said a voice, sounding impatient as well as strained, almost as though in pain. Crystal unfroze, quickly ran to the window, hurriedly opening it up. As she did, the boy from the other night came, pushing and stumbling his way through to the room. "Oh, it's about time, love," Zach said, grabbing his arm, leaning up against the windowsill for support. Crystal backed up and got a good look at Zach. She could see he was badly hurt and had blood all over his arm. He had blood splatters everywhere else on his body and was limping too. Crystal put her hand over her mouth. "What happened to you?" Crystal said in complete horror. She might not have trusted Zach and didn't want him living here, but she never wanted this. "Oh, I got my ass handed to me by this old man that had a little too much fight left in him," he said, strained but honestly. He took off his mask then and groaned, leaning his head up against the windowsill again. "I'm going to need help. I'm going to need you to get me some first aid. I can't do it myself," he said as he stumbled towards the sofa, sitting down as he turned to Crystal. "Please bring me some bandages, kid," he said sincerely, pleading. Crystal rushed out of the room quickly into the bathroom and going into the medicine cabinet to pull out the bandages in the first aid box. Then she rushed back to her room, but careful enough not to make much noise, even though her bedroom was on the second floor and the walls should have been thick enough not to hear through. With Zach being injured, she didn't want to take a chance. Crystal came back to the room quickly, grabbing a stool from beside her bed, and then quickly sat down in front of Zach, ready to start working on his wounds. "Here, let me check your cuts," she said, reaching for his hand. But just as she did, he popped her really hard. "Ow!" she exclaimed, holding her now hurt hand to her chest, looking at him shocked and hurt by just what he did. He looked angry, but seeing her hurt expression, his softened slightly, and even looked guilty. "I don't want you touching me," he said, sounding stern but dejected too, looking down at his shoes. Crystal said, I'm only trying to help and heal your injuries. I promise I'm only trying to help. Nothing else. Please, just let me help you. And I promise to be careful," holding up her hands, trying to be as open as she could as she said this. He softened a little bit more. I could take care of my own injuries. I could take care of my own injuries, he said, not sounding so sure. You can't reach certain parts of your body without hurting yourself. Please let me do it.